Hey everyone, welcome back to Topher Drives, where today we are back with another Toyota GR Corolla. This is a 2026 model, and today I have brought it to downtown Ann Arbor, Michigan for a very important reason. Well, actually two reasons. For one, we've already filmed two of these on the channel, both in sort of sporty ways. We had one out in California in the canyons, and then the one last year, we took it to pick up Tedward from the airport, but absolutely ripped the high performance section of the test loop before we did so. And if you watch Topher Drives, you know that I say a hot hat should be able to do two things very well. It should be able to go like a bat out of hell and spice up your commute when you want to push it to the limit, but also during that same commute, it should be comfortable, it should be practical, it should have good amenities inside. And well, that's why I've brought this to the top of a parking structure today to run a bit of a real world commute. We did something very similar in the Honda Civic Type R last year, and a lot of you guys liked it, and I do often like to show off what it's like to live with one of these cars in the real world. And sometimes that involves commuting back from the office. And well, today we're going to simulate that. And we'll also reset our fuel economy and see what we do there. This is rated at 21 mpg in the city, 24 combined, 28 on the highway. So we'll have to see how we do. But before we get into all of that, living with this GR Corolla, let's talk about what Toyota has done for the 2026 model year, because they just can't seem to keep their hands off of this. They're tweaking it every year, making it just a little bit better, and well, they have not stopped. So the main thing that they've changed is they've added more structural rigidity. In fact, they've added 45 more feet of sort of goop within the body panels to make it more rigid. And then they've gone and added a secondary air intake to increase the cooling, sort of following the facelift that we got in 2025 with this updated front bumper to allow more air to go in. Well, now it can run even cooler. It can do even more track time. Toyota say that they've tested this extensively at the Nürburgring, our favorite place, that just makes ride quality so much better. Not actually. And then the third main thing anyway that they've done is they have tweaked the sound system. It now has 9 speakers. It's got a subwoofer in the trunk under the floor, and it now has Toyota's world famous ASC, active sound control, which plays fake engine noise through the speakers. Luckily, you can turn that off, which I have done. But if I remember, once we get this out of the city and we're to the performance loop at the end of the video, I'll turn it on and show you guys what that actually sounds like. But there are a couple other changes that sort of lie within. You know, they're every year tweaking this, making suspension changes, putting different bolts on it and things just to chase the pursuit of perfection. Is that a Lexus thing? I don't know. But even with all of these tweaks throughout the years, the powertrain still stays the same. Under the hood, we still have the G16E GTS turbocharged 3-cylinder engine with 300 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. This is the engine famous for being in the GR Yaris, which was the forbidden fruit for the US, I suppose, until the GR Corolla came over here. And then actually the Lexus LMXX Grimina or something has this engine as well, but under here, no hood struts. But I imagine that's to save weight. The GR Corolla does still weigh in at only 3,300-ish pounds. This one's equipped with the 6-speed manual. Of course, it is still all-wheel drive, though now the front and rear Torsen limited slip differentials are standard. I think that was a 2025 thing, but it remains for 26. We have a dipstick on this engine. Love to see that. Good, simple Toyota engineering. Give me a dipstick. That is what I want on every car. The Germans got rid of those a long time ago. Like to see that the Japanese are keeping them around. No hood insulation on this, but it's okay. It means you can hear the G16 just a little bit better. Lexus IS300 style clip there for the hood prop. We've got these beautiful hood vents. This particular GR Corolla is the Premium Plus trim, which means we get a couple of other trimmings above the base GR Corolla trim. Most notably, forged carbon roof on a Corolla. In the year 2026, we have a Toyota Corolla with a forged carbon roof. That's pretty sweet. You'd have to pay for it, though, obviously. This one, as tested today, comes in at $49,000. So it's a Corolla with a forged carbon roof, but it's also a $50,000 Toyota Corolla. Premium Plus also gets you the matte 15-spoke wheels. It gets you red stitching inside, gets you a head-up display, and it gets you this subwoofer that I'm about to show you in the boot. Here we go, opening up to this very nice dealer accessory mat. If we open this up, you can see we have this big foam pad with our toolkit. Our battery lives in the trunk here, and here is our new JBL subwoofer, tucked very snugly off to the left-hand side there. No spare wheel in the back, and I don't think you could put one unless you just sort of set it in your cargo area back here and accepted that neither you nor your passengers are able to take anything in the back because you have a spare wheel. Also have a cargo net that I detached because I wanted to show you guys underneath the floor, but we'll go ahead and reattach him now. There we go, back in his little spot. So this is a power release. We have two little handles back here to close this. Didn't give it enough gusto there. Let's try again. There it goes. This one, joy of joys, has the optional accessory spoiler. This is an $855 option, and the one I was driving last year didn't have this, and it looked a little bit silly. Now, Toyota say, you know, they put a spoiler on it, but they're talking about this, which is just kind of the extension of the roof. But you have to pay extra for the big sort of Maurizio-style spoiler, which I do think completes the look. And if you're going to be commuting with this car, maybe you're carpooling with people, you want to know how big the back seat is. Well, let's go ahead and find out. Now, keep in mind, this is still the same Corolla we've had for quite a while. So unlike the Honda Civic and the Hyundai Elantra, it hasn't had a chance to get too big yet. So it is kind of a small car. That is demonstrated by the back seat. So sat behind myself here at 5'11", it's snug. You know, my knees do touch the back of the seat, and the actual seat itself, you do feel like mildly bolstered in it. And with this suede material here, I don't think you're going to go anywhere if your driver is doing the bat out of hell portion of the Commute. You will be just fine. It looks like maybe somebody had that experience. There are some mysterious drips on the back of this seat. We've got a fold down armrest with some cup holders. And well, that's it. There are no luxuries. There's no armrest up front for the driver, which means you have no vents to come off of it or anything. But you do get an additional cup holder in the door panel. So for the 3 passengers that you could put back here, you've got 4 drinks. So I don't know that you're putting somebody in the middle. They'd have to be very, very short, because since this is all-wheel drive, we do have the drivetrain hump. I do think it's cool that Toyota chose to make this all-wheel drive, because they sort of took the Ford Focus RS approach to hot hatchery, as opposed to the very lightweight and surgical approach that Honda always takes with their Type R cars. And I think since they had sort of this fresh slate to make a hot hatch, they just went crazy, and it looks bonkers. The big box fenders, this thing is just so cool. I always love when I have a GR Corolla to live with for the week. For tires today, we're on a Michelin Pilot Sport 5 on a 235/40 ZR18 squared setup. Brakes, as far as I know, are unchanged. They're painted in red and say GR. Lots of vents around this car, lots of GR badges. GR4 molded onto our side skirt here. It just looks the business, especially finished in Supersonic Red. The last couple we've had have been gray, but I think this is the color to go for. You can only get 4. They're Supersonic Red, gray, white, and black, unless you go for the new Grimina GR Corolla, which is $65,000 and is basically like the track weapon version of this car. It's new for 26, and I think they're only making like 750 of them or something. But this is the one that you can actually go to the dealership and buy. So why don't we jump in it and start it up, and we'll get started with our little real-world commute. Quietness test. I can still hear the industrial fans downstairs, but it's a Corolla. It's lightweight. Let's start it up. Got that fun animation when you start, the GR badge. Interior, as far as I know, is unchanged. We still have the 8-inch infotainment. We still have this digital gauge cluster that I really just don't like. I feel like it looks very jumbled, especially when you put it in sport and it switches to the horizontal rev counter. It's just sort of a big jumbled mess of information. I mean, you can change what it has on here, but just have never been the biggest fan of that. It does look better in normal mode. And you can actually change in your settings to keep it in this normal mode gauge cluster setting no matter what drive mode, but I've got it set to show off both for filming purposes today. In the middle, we mentioned no center console, though you do get this little pad right here that fits my iPhone 15 almost. it doesn't quite sit down in there. So if you have a smaller, this is a Pro Max, so if you have a smaller phone, it will fit in here a little bit better, but I've just been leaving my phone here on the seat. You do have a wireless charger up here in front of the shifter if that is your thing, but as you guys know, I don't like wireless chargers, so I don't use it. 2-stage heated seats with these old school buttons, love to see that. And Toyota hasn't really taken away any switchgear. We still have a physical climate control panel in this. And this guy right here, a 6-speed manual transmission with the dealer accessory GR shift knob, which just makes the shift knob bigger. So if you've got very big hands, maybe go for this shift knob. We've got a physical mechanical parking brake in here, love to see that. And then we have adjustable modes for our all-wheel drive system. So GR4 normal is your standard 60/40. When you go into gravel, that puts you into 50/50. And if you push the button, it puts you into track. Now this used to mean that you went into 30/70, 30 front, 70 rear. But now, as of 2025, this is variable. So the car will sort of sense where to send power and adjust on the fly. Obviously this week, I've just been driving this in normal. The 60/40 is completely fine. Steering wheel still the same, leather wrapped. We have that red stitching on here. And before I forget, why don't I go in and reset our fuel economy? So you do this by holding the OK button, and then you can go over to one of your gauge pod spaces. Okay, there we go, fuel economy. I'm gonna hold OK to reset. Wow, it's been doing 22.7. That's actually pretty good. All right, well with that, we should get a move on and exit the city. Into reverse, you can see the reverse camera. And we're actually gonna pull forward into a spot as well because this has front parking sensors. So if you're getting too close to a curb, it will let you know. See that? Reverse is achieved by pulling up on this lockout that will unlock this gate that is over to the left. But it's little things like that, you know, having the front sensors makes this just that much easier and more confidence inspiring to daily drive. Now, another thing that you probably want to know if you're considering daily driving a GR Corolla is it easy to get going from a manual transmission perspective? And the answer here is yes. I really even think this would be a good option for a first manual transmission car for somebody because it is very easy to drive. Now, this goes as far as weight of the clutch. There's a very nicely distinguished grab point. The shifter is very easy to get into the desired gear. And even just rolling down this parking structure in first gear, it's not bucking all over the place. It's a very nice, smooth experience. Even with the AC on, which sometimes can rob power and make these smaller displacement engines feel a little bit clunky, not really the case here. My 2009 Chevy Cobalt SS, I used to hate driving that car with the AC on when I was a teenager and like trying to race people and things because I thought it robbed so much power, and it did make it a little bit harder to drive. But in this case, takeoffs don't really seem too affected by it. Okay. So, we'll talk about ride quality in a little bit. Let's talk about maneuverability right now. Steering is pretty light. And it's very easy to see out of this car, so it's easy to place. I'm going very gingerly over these speed bumps. There we go. Yep, that's the ticket. Another one here. Slow it down. Shout out to this car doing 15.8 mpg in a parking structure. Not too bad. Windows go down very quickly and very quietly.
Please insert your ticket with the barcode facing up.
You are also just at the perfect height to pay the parking ticket. Right, let's get this out of the parking structure and let's get it in to second gear. There it is. A gear other than first for the first time in this video today. I'm actually going to go straight today, I think, because it's always just a massive cluster if you go left. Not only is this a smooth manual transmission to drive in a city setting as we're doing, it's also quite satisfying. I do like operating this shifter. It's got a nice sort of click or ka-thunk to it, if you will. And the G16 does make a pretty cool sound. You know, it's very unique. There aren't many cars these days that have a 3-cylinder engine. What, there's this, the Nissan Rogue. What else exists with a 3-cylinder in the US? Ooh, look at this tasty Ford Excursion. That is quite good. Fellow Corolla coming up. I wish the GR came in that blue color. It's a very nice one. I feel like maybe it used to. Other inputs with this obviously favor the manual transmission, throttle inputs being very linear and easy to learn. Brake pedal feels very nice. We talked about the steering being fairly light. I love just weaving bottlenecks downtown. It's so much fun. So, okay, we've shown you that from a hands and feet standpoint, this is pretty easy to drive and live with in a downtown setting. Now, what about when it comes to the ride quality? So, a little bit of a touchy subject here with the GR Corolla, and we found this out for the first time last year when Toyota claimed that they, made all these suspension, well, they didn't claim it, they did do it. They made all these suspension changes, made the car more stiff, and in my opinion, kind of spoiled the ride. Now, I don't know if I'm crazy, but it does feel like it's maybe 20% softer for 26 from the 25 model. However, this doesn't mean that it is pillow soft. Rev match first? Yes, indeed it will. This has Toyota's IMT, Intelligent Manual Transmission, which is just their fancy way of saying rev matching, which also aids you in driving smoothly in the city when you're changing gear a lot. Throws on the shifter are a little bit long. It means that you can't absolutely bang gears in this. You do kind of have to take your time, especially on your 1-2 shift. It does take a little bit of getting used to. But short shifting this car, as I'm sure many of the Europeans in the comments are wondering why I'm not doing, is actually fine. You don't really feel like you're lugging this engine, and you do have the torque, even here in 4th gear at 30 miles an hour, half throttle, it's able to pull itself along. But we're going to come back to ride quality talk here in just a second once we turn on to Pothole Road, aka Washtenaw. If you're local, you know the deal. Steering is very quick, very easy to maneuver this little car. It's so fun to, once you're finally out of the city, to just kind of blast out. I'm gonna actually get over here because I don't want to subject these wheels and tires to the horror of that right lane. But, it's kind of the Achilles heel of daily driving the GR Corolla. It is just a bit stiff, it's a bit bouncy, it's a bit crashy. The mid-range torque here is excellent. You just want to be kind of like on this everywhere. It kind of gives like old supercharged Mini Cooper vibes in the way that you just want to be sort of like weaving traffic around the city, like you're on a mission, like you're the good guy in a movie type thing. Forgot we're doing fuel economy. 17.7 currently. I'm not helping it at all. Love the way these brakes feel. You are able to do your limo stops in this to bring some relief to your passengers, maybe that aren't used to your driving style. Other good things in here. Wow, heated steering wheel. And a heated windshield. And a physical dimmer switch and auto brights. I never use auto brights, but at least you have them there if you wish. Buttons on the steering wheel are all physical. We'll show you those when we do the cruise control on the highway. Such a good thing. The only thing it's missing is a ventilated seat. My back is sticking to my shirt right now. It's mildly unpleasant, but worth it to drive this fun little hatchback. I found smoothest takeoffs lie between 1 and 2,000 RPM as far as not having any like lurch back. When you're in traffic, checking your mirrors and things, visibility in the GR Corolla is good. The headrests do take up quite a lot of that rear window real estate. Side view mirrors are a little bit narrow, but you know, blind spots, yeah, they're also there back by the C-pillars. But the car itself is so small that you don't really have to worry as much because you have a better sense of what's around you. Actually, while we're just kind of chilling here in traffic, why don't we show you this newly revised 9-speaker JBL with the old school sound system test song because YouTube removed my new one. So we're back to our roots today with new ways. Got volume knob here and then these buttons on the wheel to adjust as well. I really hope this isn't placebo, because this sound system does actually seem a lot better than I remember it being. Not only does it have more power from that subwoofer in the back, but it sounds like there's increased clarity up front as well. And I don't know if that's because they've had to tweak this because of the addition of the active sound control, you know, having those different pitches through the tweeters up there, but it's a pretty dang good sound system. I mean, I would say it's on par with like the Bose and the Civic Type R and the Bose and the Elantra M. You also have Hill Start Assist, which is another good thing for city driving. Many cities have many hills, and this will hold you for about 3 seconds before it gives up. I remember the first time I ever felt Hill Start Assist in a manual car was in my dad's 2016 Focus RS, and I couldn't believe how much easier it made things, you know, not having to use the handbrake or just roast the crap out of your clutch to be able to take off. All right, let's get this merged onto the highway. Try and take as much of a racing line as we can here. Bump this up into sport, show you guys the horizontal rev counter, which does always make it seem like you're revved lower than you actually are, because from 4 to 7, very spaced out there. Merging IRL. Somebody is on, the person in front of me is on the brakes. My goodness. Welcome to my nightmare. 60. There we go. So much torque, even at a higher speed. You saw they're in 5th gear. Oh, it's such just a little torque monster. Apologies in advance for maybe promising in the beginning that I was going to try to be efficient, but you know, it's still real because this car sort of takes that ability away from you and encouraging you to sort of wring its neck a little bit. But you know what I do like about this is it isn't quite as juvenile and crazy as the Elantra N. It kind of splits the difference nicely, you know, between that and the Civic Type R. It's a little less surgical than the Type R, but not as insane as the Elantra N. So if you're looking for something that is really good to daily drive, but also really fun when you drop a gear, this may be the car. I can't believe we're now on the 4th model year of this thing. I remember driving it in 2023 in the canyons, thinking it was just the coolest thing. It's sort of cemented in Toyota's lineup at this point, I would hope anyway. I feel like I see more of these around here than I do Volkswagen GTIs, which is pretty telling. Of course, versus the GTI, this, well, it's more expensive for one. I guess this more competes with the R, but this comes with a manual gearbox. It has an actual climate control panel. Much to love here. As you can see, in Michigan, nobody actually uses the right lane. It just sits here open. But perfect for us to test out the cruise control, which is very easy to activate. You just hit this one button here. You can see this has adaptive cruise as well. It's on the brakes currently, waiting for this person to exit. It should now accelerate, and it isn't doing. Let's see if we make a lane change. All right, we're set to 70. I'm gonna set this a little bit higher, and then I'm gonna do one more lane change, and we'll see how this acts. So we do have lane tracing assist as well, so this will steer for you. I don't like doing it in construction zones, though. It is always a little bit sketchy. So we're gonna wait till we're out of this to let go of the wheel. So this won't do lane changes for you, but it will center the lane. You can see it kind of making little adjustments. All right, good time to make a lane change. It is accelerating. There you go, use that boost. This is not me doing this, this is the car. Okay, not bad actually. Accelerated just after I put my turn signal on. Yeah, you know, I think there may be a little ways to go with this adaptive cruise system, but for the most part, it's fine. But what about actually sitting in this on the highway? You know, highways are often at times part of your commute to work. And we talked about seating position visibility a little bit earlier, but seating position itself, personally, I do feel like it's a little bit high. I would like to sit down maybe another inch in this cabin. And I don't know if this is like the whole all-wheel drive effect, you know, wanting this to feel more like a rally car, but the Focus RS is kind of the same way. In fact, Ford did a recall for the seating position on the Focus RS because it was so high up. This isn't quite that bad, but I would maybe like it to be a little bit lower. Additionally, seat comfort seems to be okay. Now, these are fully manual seats. I could see that being a good or a bad thing. You know, you could argue for your $50,000. Obviously, it helps you save weight, but it does limit your adjustability and also ability to share the car if you have a spouse as well. No memory seat settings or anything, obviously. My back does feel a little bit stiff in the seat. I would maybe like to sit in one of these for a little bit longer, maybe take it on a road trip. And then the elephant in the room, elbow comfiness, or I should say left elbow comfiness, because there is only one place to rest your elbow. And actually, the one that they give you is pretty good. You know, it's soft enough for my liking. And maybe down here, maybe you rest your hand on the parking brake or something. Maybe that's your rest. But I don't know if there are any like dealer accessory armrests you could put, but I think the handbrake would be in the way anyway, just with the way that the center console is set up. Drive mode is still in sport. We're gonna leave it there. Suspension is fixed. We don't have adaptive dampers in this car, so ride quality is just the way that it is in this thing. We'll go ahead and kill the cruise control. Oh yeah. Oh my goodness, my camera's falling off my face. And we'll go ahead and do a little bit of a performance section. Hey, check this out. 24.3 mpg, actually nailing that combined figure there. For today's trip, even with a little bit of spirited driving, we've done it spot on. And you guys can hear that ASC. My goodness, it is ear piercing. I just got this car from the Topher. He must have turned it back on because I had it off. Let's fix that. Oh, it's on medium. Let's put it on high so you guys can really hear the full extent of this. I'm going to downshift a second and we'll let it rip. And now we'll turn it off completely. What a fun thing. You don't need this stupid active sound control. The car sounds really good on its own, honestly. A couple little subtle pops and burbles here. I want to put this actually into track mode and kind of see how the torque vectoring changes around this corner now that it's variable. Really just has torque everywhere. Let's go ahead and turn traction control off because from a performance standpoint, you know, we've done a couple of loops already, but this car is very confidence-inspiring. I think primarily because it is just so stable. You never have any sort of thought that this car is going to loop or send you flying into the ditch or something. It is just arrow straight when you get on it. And then the gears aren't so long that you can't go through them all. You can actually have some fun with this. Come in here one more time in track. And we'll shut her down. It is just a little bit scary because it says expert. And you think to yourself, well, I'm not an expert, but you kind of feel like one. What a thing this is. Okay, one last thing I want to do, and this is going to be like my final bit talking about the ride and my final ride test. We're going to go under the overpass, so we'll be able to hear the exhaust one more time. But then I want to drive the really crappy section of I-94 and see if this thing bounces all over the place, because I haven't done that yet this week. And then that'll wrap up our video for today. This back into normal. And we'll get these windows down. All 4 auto up down windows, by the way. Luxury feature. And we'll let her rip. I'm gonna go down to second because I want as little wind buffeting as possible here. very loud. There are aftermarket, oh, I already know this is going to be bouncy because I can already feel it. There are aftermarket exhausts available for this, and obviously now that we're in the 4th model year for this car, the aftermarket support is more than it was. So if you want to make your GR Corolla a little bit louder, you are able to do so. All right, let's do the ultimate test here. Let's see if this is as bouncy as it was last year. Okay. Getting our first taste of this. I remember driving down this section of highway in 2016 next to a man that had just bought a Focus RS. It had temporary plates on it still, and he literally was lifting out of the seat. We drove next to him. He was, I don't know how, he was keeping a straight face somehow, but it was just the most unbelievable thing. And if you guys have seen my Focus RS video, you know this section of highway is quite terrible if you have a stiff car. And yeah, we're kind of feeling it here in this 26 GR Corolla. But you know what? I'm going to kind of stick with what I said earlier, that this feels about 20% less stiff than it did for the 25 model year. So I think they have done some tweaks suspension-wise, even if they haven't told us about it. Like I said, you know, they can't keep their hands off this car, but... Okay, well that's it. I'm going to put this back into normal mode. We could end at Culver's, actually. There is a Culver's up here. I don't know that ending this at a Culver's at noon is going to be the best idea, but, well, we'll give it a shot, I guess. Ooh, a Buick Riata. What a treat. Check that out. And on that bit of car spotting, why don't we pull this into Culver's? And we'll end the video. Usually we don't end commutes at Culver's, but you know, today we're feeling a little bit special, so we'll back this in over here. I can't believe there's actually parking spots. This is wild. Ooh, a cool Lexus LS 430 over there. You do have leading lines here to back yourself into the spot. Camera quality is not great. You can see there. Ending today at 21.1 mpg, even after that performance section. Still pretty cool. Actually, trip average 20... Hey? 20.8. Okay, well, whatever. Somewhere between 20.7 and 21.1. So we did okay. Actually, right around the city rating for this car. So that's it. Let's give you one last look at it here. Hope you guys all enjoyed this a little bit more of a realistic take on the GR Corolla. I will have my other 2 videos linked in the description if you are curious to watch those. We've got that airport commute last year where we picked up Tedward, and then a video from a few years ago where we did that canyon run with the base core model, which doesn't even exist anymore. So that'll be it. If I left anything out, if you have any questions, please let me know. But thank you guys all so much for watching. I'm gonna go get myself some lunch, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.